All right, so get this, listeners. Today, we're going deep on something pretty unique, Sepak Takraw in India. Yeah, it's this sport that's kind of a mix of volleyball, soccer, and gymnastics. It's incredible, really. And you might be surprised to find out that India actually has a pretty cool history with it.
You know what's interesting? Most people in India probably don't even know what Sepak Takraw is, but it's been around for a while now, decades actually, and it's got some really dedicated fans, especially in certain parts of the country.
Okay, so for those out there who might not know, how would you explain Sepak Takraw?
Okay, picture this. You got a volleyball court, you've got the net, and you've got this rattan ball. But instead of using their hands, the players volley this ball back and forth using their feet, their knees, their chests, even their heads.
Really?
Yeah, it's like kick volleyball, but way more intense with these crazy acrobatic moves and super fast reflexes.
Wow, okay, that sounds pretty intense. So I know we're focusing on India today, but where did this sport even come from?
Well, the modern standardized version, that came from Malaysia in 1960, but its roots, they probably go back like centuries, all the way to ancient China, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's evidence of this game called Kuju, where players would keep a feathered ball in the air using only their feet.
So that's where the foot volley part comes from.
Exactly. Even FIFA thinks that Kuju could be like an ancestor to modern soccer. So yeah, Sepak Takraw has some serious history behind it.
Wow, I had no idea it went back that far. So how did Sepak Takraw make it over to India?
It was a demonstration sport at the 1982 Asian Games in Delhi.
Oh, cool.
And that same year, the Sepak Takraw Federation of India, that was founded in Nagpur, which shows you that the sport, it definitely, it grabbed some people's attention right away.
So, did it take off from there? Did India, really embrace this new sport?
Well, it's been kind of a slow process, It wasn't until 2000 that Sepak Takraw got official recognition by the Indian Olympic Association and the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports.
Okay, so it sounds like it was, at least for a while, kind of under the radar in India.
Yeah, for sure. And it's still not like a mainstream sport everywhere in the country, but there are some places like Manipur where it's huge, like really big. It's considered a traditional sport there, and there's a lot of pride and passion for it.
We've heard a lot about Manipur being a hotbed for the sport in India. Why is that?
Well, Manipur's got a long history with these indigenous games that are kind of similar to Sepak Takraw. So for them, moving to this more structured version of the sport, it was maybe a natural fit. Plus, the state's been really active in promoting Sepak Takraw at the local level, and that's created a strong base and a pipeline of talented players. It's also gaining some traction in other areas like Nagaland.
Yeah.
Here.
It's cool to think about a sport thriving in a specific area, even if it's not super well known across the whole country,
Right. It really shows you how powerful local enthusiasm can be and how a sport can become really ingrained in a community's identity.
So let's talk about some of the athletes who are really putting Indian Sepak Takraw on the map. India winning bronze at the 2018 Asian Games, that's got to be huge.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely. That was a historic moment for Indian Sepak Takraw. The men's team, they were competing in the Regan event, which, by the way, is a doubles match with 3 players on each side.
Okay.
They managed to snag the bronze medal, and that marked a huge step forward for the sport in India.
Yeah, that must have been such an incredible moment for the team and for, all of Indian Sepak Takraw.
For sure. It put a spotlight on the sport and kind of showed the world that India was a real contender.
And then you've got Yumnam Akash Singh, who's making history as the first Indian player to be drafted into the Malaysian Sepak Takraw League. What's his story?
Akash's journey is pretty fascinating. He started out playing football when he was 11, but that same year, he found Sepak Takraw and was immediately hooked.
Wow.
Yeah, he went pro in 2009 and quickly made a name for himself. He even holds the record for the fastest kick in the sport, clocked at a blazing 178 kilometers per hour.
Whoa, that's faster than some cars go on the highway.
Right.
No wonder he got picked up by a Malaysian club. That's the Nigeri symbol on antlers, right?
That's the one. It's a huge deal, not just for Akash, but for Indian Sepak Takraw in general. His selection is a real testament to his talent and dedication, and it opens doors for other Indian players to, dream big.
It seems like India is starting to produce some serious talent in this sport. But what are some of the challenges that athletes like Akash face, in a country where Sepak Takraw is still kind of under the radar?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles is the lack of financial support. Because it's not a major sport in India yet, there's not a lot of funding for things like training, equipment, travel, and coaching.
So how do these athletes even manage to train and compete at such a high level with so few resources?
Honestly, it's pure dedication and resilience. You hear stories of players using their own money for training, travel, even buying their own equipment. They're driven by passion and the dream of representing India, on a global stage.
That's pretty incredible. It really says a lot about their commitment to the sport. But it also makes you wonder about, how sustainable that is. I mean, how long can athletes rely on their own funds before it just becomes too much?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not a sustainable model in the long run. For Sepak Takraw to really take off in India, there needs to be a much stronger support system. We're talking sponsorships, better facilities for training, access to quality coaching, and just more media coverage to raise awareness and get some investment flowing.
Yeah, it's inspiring to hear about their dedication, but you're right.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to do it all themselves. Hopefully, as the sport gets more recognition, that support will come. But I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the cultural side of Sepak Takraw. It's more than just a sport, right? Especially in Southeast Asia.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sepak Takraw is deeply woven into the Southeast Asian tradition and heritage. It embodies these values of teamwork, respect, discipline, and it really fosters a sense of community. It's actually really interesting how similar games exist all across the region, each with their own unique twist.
Like we were saying earlier, there's Kuju in China. What are some of the other examples?
Well, you've got Shinlon in Myanmar, Sipa in the Philippines, and Raga in Indonesia. They might have different rules and styles of play, but that core concept, it's the same. Keeping a ball up in the air, mostly using your feet. It kind of shows you this shared cultural connection between these countries.
Yeah, it's like a physical expression of their shared history and traditions,
Yeah.
all played out on court. But how does that cultural significance, how does it translate to India, where Sepak Takraw isn't as well known?
In places like Manipur and Nagaland, where it's got a strong foothold, Sepak Takraw, it's not just a sport. It's part of everyday life. It's played in villages, in schools, at community gatherings. It brings people together and strengthens those social bonds.
So it's kind of like a community hub, a way to connect with your neighbors and celebrate that shared heritage.
Exactly. And it's not all about competition either. Sepak Takraw, it promotes physical fitness, coordination, mental focus. These are all valuable skills. And it's also seen as a way to teach discipline and respect for your elders.
That's really interesting. So by promoting Sepak Takraw, India could actually be reviving a traditional game that might otherwise fade away.
Exactly. And it's not just about preserving the past. Sepak Takraw has this potential to connect different parts of India. Imagine a national tournament that brings teams from all over the country, all showcasing their unique styles and celebrating their diversity. It could be a really powerful force for unity.
That's a beautiful thought. A sport that goes beyond geographical boundaries and brings people together through a shared passion. And it's not just limited to India, right? Sepak Takraw has this potential to connect people from all over the world.
Oh, absolutely. It's a global sport now. It's got a growing presence in countries across Asia, Europe, even the Americas. And these international competitions like the World Cup coming to India in 2025, those are amazing opportunities for cultural exchange. You'll have athletes from all over the world, each with their own style and traditions, all coming together in Bihar to compete and share their love for the sport.
That's going to be an amazing event, not just for the sport itself, but for cultural diplomacy and tourism too.
Totally agree. It just reminds you that sports can be so much more than just competition. You know? They can be these powerful tools for building bridges, fostering understanding, promoting peace.
Okay, so we've talked about the cultural importance and the unifying potential of Sepak Takraw, but let's zoom in on the sport itself. What makes it so captivating to watch? What sets it apart from other sports?
Well, for one thing, it's visually stunning. The athleticism, the agility, the acrobatic moves. It's like a mix of martial arts, dance, and volleyball all in one. And the speed and precision of those rallies, they're just mesmerizing.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that players can use any part of their body except their hands and arms. That's got to take incredible skill and coordination.
Oh, absolutely. You need strength, flexibility, and lightning fast reflexes. And it's a total body workout. You're using your feet, your knees, your chest, your head. It's a real testament to human agility and coordination.
And it's not just about individual skill either,
Yeah.
right? It's a team sport, so there's that strategic element as well.
Yeah, for sure. You've got the server, the setter, and the striker. Each one has their own specific role and responsibilities. The server starts the rally, the setter sets up the attack, and the striker, they try to spike the ball over the net. It's like this well choreographed dance where communication and being in sync are super important.
So for anyone out there who hasn't seen Sepak Takraw, I highly recommend checking it out. You can find some amazing videos online, and if you ever get the chance to see a match in person, don't miss it.
You won't be disappointed. And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to try it yourself. It's a challenging sport, but it's also incredibly rewarding, and it can be enjoyed by people of all ages and skill levels.
And as we've been talking about, it's so much more than just a sport, right?
Yeah.
It's a cultural treasure. It's a bridge between communities, and it's a celebration of human athleticism and creativity.
And with the World Cup coming to India in 2025, it's a sport that's ready to explode. The future of Sepak Takraw in India is looking bright.
I'm really excited to see where this journey takes Indian Sepak Takraw. But like with any sport that gains popularity, there are always challenges and potential downsides to be aware of.
You're right, and that brings us to some important questions about the ethical side of Sepak Takraw's growth.
It's true. Anytime you've got competition, especially at the international level, you got to be careful about the potential downsides. What are some of those ethical things we should be thinking about as Sepak Takraw grows in India?
Well, one thing that jumps out is how rising nationalism could, kind of overshadow the real values of the sport.
Yeah, we talked a little about that earlier, that line between national pride and using sports to push agendas that might not be so inclusive.
Exactly. As India, aims to become a Sepak Takraw powerhouse, there's a risk that the whole focus on winning could overshadow things like sportsmanship, fair play, and respect for your opponents. It's a slippery slope. We've seen it happen in other sports. It's something to watch out for.
Right. I mean, it's natural to want your country to do well, but how do we make sure that enthusiasm doesn't turn into something, less healthy? How do we keep the focus on the right things?
Well, I think it starts with building a culture of sportsmanship from the very beginning. Teaching young athletes, coaches, fans, everyone, the importance of respecting your opponents, playing by the rules, and valuing the spirit of the game over the outcome. Winning is great, but it shouldn't come at the cost of, integrity and fair play.
So it's about emphasizing that how you play the game is just as important as the final score.
Exactly. And celebrating the diversity of the sport is important too, recognizing that different countries have their own styles, their own strengths, their own traditions, and that, learning from each other is just as valuable as competing against each other.
It's about seeing that bigger picture, appreciating that cultural exchange that a sport like Sepak Takraw can bring about.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even though we're cheering for our own countries, we're all part of this global community that shares a passion for this amazing sport. And it's not just about the athletes either. It's about everyone involved. The fans, the coaches, the media. We all have a responsibility to promote a healthy and respectful environment.
Yeah, it's a team effort for sure to make sure that Sepak Takraw stays a force for positive connection and doesn't become something that divides people. Now, beyond nationalism, are there any other ethical concerns we should be thinking about?
Yeah, another big one is ethical conduct within the sport itself. Like any competitive field, there's always the risk of, doping, match fixing, corruption, especially as the stakes get higher.
Right, those issues can pop up in any sport as it gets more popular and more money and attention come in.
Exactly, and Sepak Takraw is not immune to that. To protect the integrity of the sport, we need strong measures in place, stringent anti-doping rules, comprehensive testing, transparent governance, all of that to discourage any unethical behavior.
It sounds like education plays a big role here too, making sure athletes understand the consequences of doping, not just for their own health, but for the reputation of the whole sport.
Definitely. And creating a culture where everyone's accountable, where athletes, coaches, officials, they all feel comfortable reporting any suspicious activity without being afraid of any backlash. Transparency and open communication, those are key to keeping things fair.
It's about protecting the heart of the sport, right? Making sure it stays fair and competitive, and that any success comes from dedication, skill, and hard work. not from taking shortcuts or doing things that are unethical.
Well said. Upholding those ethical standards, it's a constant process, but it's vital for the long-term health and sustainability of Sepak Takraw, both in India and around the world.
It's really been inspiring to see all the passion and potential around Sepak Takraw. It's a sport that deserves to be in the spotlight, but as with anything that grows, we got to be mindful of the challenges that come with that growth.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that by talking openly about these challenges and working together to uphold those values of fair play, respect, integrity, we can make sure that Sepak Takraw thrives as a sport that brings people together instead of dividing them.
It's been awesome exploring the world of Sepak Takraw in India with you. For our listeners who are now fired up to see what this sport is all about, where can they learn more?
There's some really fantastic videos online that showcase the speed, the skill, the athleticism of Sepak Takraw. Just search for Sepak Takraw highlights and you'll be blown away by what you see. And if you ever get the chance to see a live match, definitely go for it.
Couldn't agree more. And for those who are feeling adventurous, maybe even give it a shot yourself. Who knows? You might discover a whole new passion.
And with the ISTAF World Cup coming to India in 2025, there'll be tons of opportunities to experience this dynamic sport firsthand. It's going to be a huge event that'll really put Indian Sepak Takraw on the world stage.
So to all our listeners out there, keep an eye out for Sepak Takraw. It's a sport worth watching, worth learning about, and maybe even worth playing. And who knows, maybe we'll see India become a real Sepak Takraw powerhouse in the years to come.
That would be something to see.
This has been a really cool deep dive. I think our listeners are walking away with a whole new appreciation for Sepak Takraw. Thanks for joining us on this journey.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.